Integrity is almost like, I don't know, to some people, a dirty word. But either way, for today's purposes, we're going to talk about how living in integrity or alignment builds trust, confidence, and clarity.
If somebody commits to something in one session and then they come back to the second session or the next session having not done what they said they were going to do, what does the coach do? Well, some trainings say, well, you have to confront your client. I don't want to, that sounds so, right?
No.
Great way to lose a client, right? I'm like, all right, time to play the integrity game. So that was what I called it, to make it playful.
I lived out of integrity with myself for decades. That was revolutionary. That was so profound in my life. And this is why I love your book, is because it talks about it's how you do one thing is how you do everything.
You see the word foundation. So the concept is, right, a building, a bridge, or a tunnel will collapse under pressure tests without structural integrity. Well, so will we.
And so one word that I learned to restore integrity, and you probably do this within your clients as well, is, so what are you committed? When are you committed to get that report to me? I will tell you, Jeffrey, if you want to see somebody squirm, ask them to commit. How many times people avoid the word commitment?
Anyway, so here's a Klubek snack for you. Some things are as undeniable as they are unexplainable.
Share more.
There's a feeling, I hope you've had it. I'm sure you have. There's a feeling. I say, how do you know when you're in integrity? It's magic.
Think about where in your life are you out of integrity, where you could be more integrous, and what is it costing you? It's really pondering. It's not a judgment. And based on what we've talked about, the tools, the little strategies, and how does it feel? Where do you want that feeling? Where are you out of that? And then think about, who would you become if integrity was much more intentional and was non-negotiable for you? Hi, and welcome to Live in the Rhythm. I'm your host, Pam Reyes, and I'm really excited to be here. This show is all about helping you discover the rhythm of life that's unique to you. Because when you align what you do with who you are, something really powerful happens. You begin to live with more freedom, confidence, and joy. And that, my friends, is your personal power. And when you're operating and living from your personal power, success is guaranteed. So we are going to explore the mindset, communication, and purposeful living. We'll have practical tools, and we'll also have honest conversations based on our own experiences, all to help you transform your life from the inside out. Because the grind, that's a lie. Life is not a race. It's more of a dance. And you're not going to find your rhythm in the hustle. Although the hustle is a dance, it's going to be found really in who you are uniquely created to be. So I'm really excited to have our guest today and introduce you. He is someone who brings truth, heart, and humor to the leadership space. Jeffrey Klubek is a communication professor at San Diego State, a world-class coach, and the creator of the Integrity Game. It's a framework that's really transforming how we develop soft skills and show up in life and in business. As the founder of Get a Clue, Jeffrey supports solopreneurs and small business owners with powerful accountability tools that move the needle. His work has reached entrepreneurs and teams across 14 countries. And his Get a Clue in 52 book series continues to spark growth and insight. He's also recently co-authored 2 books, one with his daughter called Klubek Snacks, and the other diving into the college baseball recruiting journey. So please welcome Jeffrey Klubek, a man who's unretired, unstoppable, and unapologetically playing the integrity game. Jeff, I am so excited to have you on today.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for having me. We know how important this topic is, and we know how much fun we're going to have talking about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So today it's the integrity advantage. You wrote the book, The Integrity Game. We really want to dive into how living in integrity, which, let's face it, I have a lot of people who have shared with me, is like, oh, I'm never going to raise my hand saying I'm out of integrity. Integrity is almost like, I don't know, to some people, a dirty word. But either way, for today's purposes, we're going to talk about how living in integrity or alignment, if you so choose, builds trust, confidence, and clarity. So, Jeff, tell us, what led you to write this book?
Well, I guess, back to Klubek Snacks, those are my motivational quotes. One of them is, everything is multi-determined. All right. So it wasn't just one thing that led me to the book. It's really a collection of a bunch of things. It's the accumulation of the journey, right? Who knows? When I go back to when I learned how to coach, and I
Okay.
didn't know what coaching was. I didn't know what coaching was outside of athletics coaching. I grew up a big sports fan. I didn't know it was something in personal professional growth. Well, what's that? And of course, the first boot camp coaches training I ever went into was accountability. I learned accountability, how to hold self and others accountable.
That's
Uh-oh.
another dirty word. So what
Well,
does
yeah,
accountability mean to you?
yeah, well, the willingness to be counted, right? And yeah, I loved how you said that. Like you ready to replace alignment. I mean, integrity with alignment to like make it more digestible. But integrity is the word that I chose to make accountability more digestible, right? So we
100%.
so we know that accountability will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our own behavior,
Right.
right? And so knowing what we know about communication, about critical thinking, about barriers to critical thinking, about ego defense, about objectivity versus subjectivity. These are things that I taught in the classroom for years and years and years. And then you add accountability coaching, techniques, frameworks, dialogues, strategies, and now all of a sudden, I'm getting a little dangerous, right?
Right.
Then there's a micro story about how I was offered the opportunity to deliver a keynote for the Specialty Advertising Association of California back in 2020, and it was a virtual keynote because everything got shut down, remember?
Oh,
But
yes.
when I gave them the remember when I gave them the list of topics to choose from, there was like usual suspects: time management, accountability, org chart 101. I was trying to make the list look a little sexy, and
Sure.
I put the integrity game in there. Think
Mhm.
just to make the list more colorful, thinking it would be vague enough where it would make the list of topics look colorful, but of course, just my luck, they chose it. I'm like, all right, now I got to deliver a keynote called the integrity game. So it was part of an evolution. Now, the integrity game is the words that I was using, the title that I was giving to just a dialogue inside of my coach's training. Are you ready, Pam? If somebody commits to something in one session, and then they come back to the second session or the next session having not done what they said they were going to do, what does the coach do? Well, some trainings say, well, you have to confront your client. I don't want to, that sounds so, right?
No.
Great way to lose a client, right? I'm like, all right, time to play the integrity game. So that was what I called it, to make it playful. Hey, yes or no, did you or didn't you do that? No. All right, time to play the integrity game. That's how it started. It was just a 3-step dialogue to get somebody ultimately to decommit or recommit to their word, right? Like,
Yeah,
hey,
and it is a word. It is. And I love the fact that you talk about the integrity game because, as kids, we're like, who wants to play a game, right? It's inviting. It's a bit inviting. There's a couple of things that I really want to dig into that I
yeah,
know through the work that I've done with clients, the work that I do, how I handle my boys. I'm sure with your kids too. They aren't the best teachers, aren't they? Integrity is good for your word, right? And what the fact is that do what you say you're going to do. And what are you doing when nobody's looking? Doing the right thing, right?
those are the two answers I always get when I do keynotes on the integrity game. And there's things I like about those answers, and then there's a couple things I don't like about those answers. But keep
Mm.
going.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember years ago through my coaching that I was not only coached, but also how it really profoundly impacted me. Because the word integrity, I was like, oh, yeah, I have integrity. I do what I say I'm going to do with other people. Here's the deal, Jeffrey. The integrity was like, yeah, what I say to other people. But there's multi layers of integrity because my grandpa, who bless his heart, lived until he was like 93 years old, a man of his word. When he said he was going to be there, he used to say, your word is your character. But here's where I noticed that I went awry. You do what you say you're going to do. And one of the things that a lot of us hear is actions speak louder than words.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to watch somebody's actions instead of their words because that's the integrity, right? On the other hand, my dad was do as I say, not as I do. So my grandpa talked about integrity, man of his word, showed up in complete, integration into who he was. But my dad, on the other hand, bless his soul, taught us to have two different personas, a public one, Patty Perfect, and a private one. And never shall the two meet. I lived out of integrity with myself for
Mm.
decades.
Mhm.
That was revolutionary. That was so profound in my life. And this is why I love your book, is because it talks about it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And we can
That's
go
in there.
semantics on some words, but the fact is that what I recognize, I was a totally different person in my corporate career that I was when I got home. After a while, I had a hard time turning that off, but I didn't realize that when I was out of integrity with myself, it's called disintegrity. We start disintegrating who we truly are. This is why I think this topic is so important, that it is foundational to everything. Clearly everything that you do. It is also foundational to everything that I do with my clients. I send them an article on integrity to let them know this is the foundation, that it's not a bad thing. And even studies show is when you are out of integrity, when you restore integrity with somebody, it builds greater trust. Yeah. So share. I mean, what say you on that one?
Yeah, well, no, there's a lot there. I mean, what I love is the word foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. There's a lot that I could respond to, but let me just go backwards a little bit. You said the word
Yeah.
foundation. So the concept is, right, a building, a bridge, or a tunnel will collapse under pressure tests without structural integrity. Well, so will we.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the reason, so that's one thing, right? It's just structural integrity. If you're going to work every day in a building that is making weird noises and you don't know where it's coming from, or you could see ripples in the floors or whatever the case may be, you're not going to be focused on your work. Part of your brain is going to be like, is this thing going to collapse or not? And now your fight or flight is triggered, right? Your eyes are wide open for what could go wrong with this building and where are the exits and do I need to get out? And now you're drained of your power from the client that you're talking to or the work that you're doing. If any part of your brain is preoccupied with the foundation and the ability for the whole thing to stay up, right? And if we start feeling that way about our lives,
For
right?
sure.
If we start feeling that way about our businesses, So when we feel out of integrity, right? You say disintegrous. We can elaborate on that a little bit. But what else did you say that I wanted to comment on? These two answers that we get: be your word and do the right thing when nobody's watching. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But then I realized I'm holding people accountable to doing what they said in the coaching context. But then it dawned on me, well, why did you say you're going to do that? Pam, if you said, Jeff, I'm going to sleep on the couch for 22 out of every 24 hours this year. Like what? For a whole year, 22 out of 24 hours, and you're going to be a couch potato?
Yeah.
And then you do it. You will have done what you have said you were going to do, right? But could you claim integrity? We know the answer is no. So be your word is good. It's not good enough. I want to be in integrity. Everybody can do that. Just play it safe, play it small. Don't give your word out.
For sure. Yeah.
You
That's not why
follow?
we're here.
That's not why we're here. Okay. So that's, you understand why I
Yeah.
like the answer. It's important to be our word. It's important, but it's what's more important. That's transactional is be your word. What's transformational is why is that your word?
Right. Yes.
And so in my work, I want to take people up to a level of transformation. What are you committing to? Why are you committing to that? What is your purpose? What are your competitive advantages? What is your potential? Have you drafted goals? Now, what are you committed to? Is that a strategy broken down into tactics that is integrated with the goals that you've set? The Integrity Game's a 10-point model.
Okay.
That invites people to answer questions about themselves, right? These 10-point, and now make sure those answers go together. And now when you're making word and commitment, and that's one of the points on the model, by the way, word and commitment, the use of words in and of themselves, and then our relationship to our word. The other piece though, do the right thing. Oh my God. Do the right thing when nobody's watching. Well, what's the right thing? Now, like if I asked a room full of 100 people, should we always be honest? And everybody will raise their hand. Yeah, we should always be honest, right? Okay, well, keep your hands up if you've ever put an elf on a shelf to guilt your kids into good behavior for 26 days in December.
Come on. I love that. That was just so beautiful. I know. I mean,
It's a moving target. It depends. It's
is.
context specific. So one of the problems with integrity that I'm trying to wedge bust and break through is let's take judgment out of it. You mentioned this. You were so hesitant to even use the word integrity because other people, it's a trigger. Why? Because they're not ready to be 100% responsible for themselves, or they're so unwilling to look within that they're just accusing everybody else in their life of being out of integrity. You know how much talk at the water cooler is going on, complaining the people that know what they want to do of not having integrity?
Yeah. And to bringing it into the workplace, the integrity that when we're not doing what we say we're going to do, the commitment piece of it, which that's a whole nother sidebar I want to go down. is that we're looking over our shoulder all the time. It's like, am I going to be found out? Right.
Right.
And this is at the water.
Same thing like going into the building and it doesn't have structural integrity. You're not doing your work. You're looking over your shoulder when the thing's going to crumble rather than doing the work. Same thing.
Yes. And so one word that I learned to restore integrity, and you probably do this within your clients as well, is, so what are you committed? When are you committed to get that report to me? I will tell you, Jeffrey, my word, if you want to see somebody squirm, ask them to commit. How many times people avoid the word commitment? And this is what I didn't realize until I had a huge deep dive on the integrity piece and how to restore integrity. What we're doing is, we're, as coaches, right, we're asking, what are you committed to do this week before we meet next time? And then oftentimes we'll hear, oh, well, I'm going to da-da-da-da. I'm going to do. No. What are you committed to? That word subconsciously people avoid. I don't know if that's something that came to your attention, but I will tell you, even with my boys, is like they'll want to run away from it like the plague. So when are you committed to getting that trash out? I'll do it. No. When are you committed? Because here's what happens. Here's what I learned, not only at home, but also in my work, is when you ask them, now it becomes their choice. Now it becomes they own it, accountability, ownership, right? Now they own it. It's like, when are you committed to doing that? This is one of the most profound revelations that I've had with a lot of my clients. They were like, they'd come to me and like, Pam, I've got this one teammate. And I'm like, gosh, I'm ready to throat punch him. This is what some of the things that they say. I'm like, why? Because they're never meeting the deadlines. I'm like, well, so share with me how you're talking with them. So what did you ask? And I give them words. I need the report on Friday. What time are you committed to getting that to me? Because if we're not holding people, giving them that choice and that commitment, you watch and see how much time people squirm. But I say, no, you need to press in. They're like, I can't ask that. I go, yes, you can. Because what you're doing is you are helping your team members stay in integrity.
I'll take it a step further. I won't even use the word commitment. If I know that people have a C word aversion, right, I get super careful in my language. Unapologetically, I'll tell you that one of my competitive advantages as a coach is my wordsmithing and my attunement. Like, I'm attuned to language and the vibration of language, and right. So I won't even say, when are you committed to doing that? I might say, by when do you want to have that done? I won't even say, I need the report by. I won't even talk about me at all.
Yeah.
I'll say, by when do you want to? By when do you want? Okay, do I have your permission to follow up with you? Do we need to get into your calendar? How will you remind yourself? What kind of an appointment do you need to set with yourself? How do you need to put up your do not disturb sign to protect that time on your calendar for you to do the work of doing the thing that I'm helping support your commitment? Knowing that people are triggered, we even got to soften the road and pave the road and shape the path even more.
Yeah. And this is what I love about it's not only our mindset, and I shared that we're going to dig into communication. Our words matter. The words that we use and choose. And it's not arguing whose words are better. It's what works with people.
I have to say it 10 different ways before it will land with the person. As soon as I believe that the one way I've chosen to say it is the right way for everyone, I'm out of a job.
Yeah, for sure. And this will get back to the fact that it's a dance. There's two of us and we meet people where they're at, but then you have to synchronize. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about that you shared with me that I would love for you to share with our audience is your story about hugging people accountable. Can you share a bit about that, Jeff?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a hugger, right? And,
hello, me too. And I have to ask permission because you never know, right?
You don't know. You don't know. And then COVID made it interesting too, because you had a lot of people that you could see. You read nonverbal. You see if people are doing the leaner, hi, nice to meet you, versus hi, nice to meet you. Anyway, so I joke around and from a jovial, right, to introduce my joviality for a second. Like, Pam, you and I both know there's too many people in the world that are going for the jugular. So I go for the hugular.
Oh, so no. See, this is why I introduced you as like the humor. Come on.
Yeah, it's hard to beat the hugular.
And
why go for the jugular when you can go for the hugular?
It's too serious to begin with, and when you think about it, we can have this hard shell, but in the deep down inside, one touch, literally a touch, can help melt that exterior. But what I find with a lot of people is, because it was me initially, it was on the outside, Patty Perfect had it all. But inside, I was just a hot mess. But if somebody touched me, I'd be like, "Ugh," because that was my armor.
Yep.
Everything, like the walls would come tumbling down.
Yeah. Yeah. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, give me a hug and I'll give you a novel.
For sure, for sure. But share a bit because I think that's such a beautiful story.
But like,
Oh, well,
but basically it goes back to what we said earlier. I know accountability is threatening. I know people will always feel attacked, right? Or consider it to be an attack if they're not ready to be responsible.
right.
Right. So before I called it the integrity game, it's just a progression. So it's like I gave another keynote and it was in Orlando. And I never forget. It's like it was an event and I got the call. Hey, Jeff, 15 minutes. We got to get you on stage. What are you going to talk about? Like, all right, tell them who else is going to be there. All these other coaches and all these entrepreneurs from around the world that are trying to grow their businesses. Okay, how do I differentiate myself in that environment? Okay, you've got other coaches that are doing seminar industry coaching. Accountability. Like nobody at this event is going to talk about accountability. Now, a lot of people may drop the word accountability into their talk when they're accusing other people of not being accountable, but nobody's going
It's the accusation word.
You got it, right? We're always guilty of what we accuse others of, both positive and negative. When people say, Jeff, I think you're amazing. Oh, well, that's because you are too. How would you know I am unless you had some experience with that? Jeff, I think you're super funny. Well, thank you for sharing your sense of humor with me. No, I said you're funny. Well, how would you know I was funny unless you had the sense of humor? Right. So in other words,
Mirroring.
Well, praise is a projection, as is the criticisms. Okay. So we got to be fair. We can't just say, "Oh, you're projecting only when it's negative." Hey, you're projecting when it's positive too, right? The only reason you love me is because integrity is such a big deal in your world. So everything that you love about what I'm doing with integrity is because you have a sense of it and it's important to you and it's important to you. That's how you see it in me. The hug you accountable. I was like, well, how do I soften accountability? How do I make it more inviting? How do I make it less threatening? This is the mission that I'm on. It's almost like purpose more so than mission if we get into the semantics of it. Because mission is an achievement, an accomplishment, a destination, whereas vision is like a description. And so when I look out into the world as far as I could possibly see, or I look out into my future as far as I could possibly see, I see a person who has made accountability less threatening. I see a person who has made it easier and more fun to help people look within. I see a person who has somehow managed to remove some of the judgmental vibration from the word and the usage of the word integrity. So Hug You Accountable is just one step on that journey. I was going to give a 15-minute talk on accountability. I was going to establish myself in that environment as a world-class accountability coach, somebody that makes accountability easy, fun, but also the necessity of it. And moreover, if you are hiring a coach because you need to be held accountable and they can't tell you how they hold you accountable, what accountability requires, the ingredients, the dialogues, the strategy, the ego defense, you better have some integrity in your life if you venture to hold other people. You don't have to be perfect.
So what does that look like when you said hugging accountable?
It's metaphoric. From the stage, it was a keynote, hug you accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then in session, it goes back to what we were saying. It's softening the language. It's shaping the path. It's saying, it's being able to shift my posture in a coaching session. For example, one way to hold somebody accountable is to go into an inferior posture. You tell me what you think is required in this situation. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that something that you're committed to? Is that something that you want me to hold you accountable for? Is that something that you're going to be able to get done just because we've talked about it? Or do I need to write this way to your calendar, please, and usher you into an appointment with yourself to make sure that you get that done? So you already know the strategies, the resources, the tactics. So you tell me what you need to commit to. I might be able to tell you why you're avoiding that commitment.
Yes, yes. So let's get to you for a moment, Jeff.
Yeah. But
have you always lived in integrity?
No.
Don't we teach and coach on what we've learned ourselves? So what was the turning point for you in your life?
Well, there's so many of them that I'm still turning. Every day is a turning point.
All the time.
All the time. And there's just several, points that we talk to, right? That we can look at along the way. When I was asked to do the keynote and I decided I was going to talk about accountability, hug you accountable. That was a turning point when I decided to become a coach and get into boot camp level coaches training and have 5 people coach me every week that I had to coach them. We had to score each other and we had to listen to the tapes and roll around in our car, listening to the audios all the time and show up to the sessions and do the assignments and call people and apologize to them and the whole thing. Right.
Yeah.
So, I had to confront myself, right? I had to grow.
Mm.
and it's funny too. I say this a lot. It's the truth. I didn't write the integrity game because I'm a master of integrity. I'm a master of communication. I didn't write the integrity game because I'm the world's foremost expert on integrity, although I'd love to be. All right. Or included. I'd love to be in that top, but that's not why I wrote it. Right. I wrote it because I want more in my life. This is work I'm doing for myself, and I'm just inviting the world to play with me. So
Mhm.
I'm committed to being vulnerable. I'm committed to being imperfect. There's no other commitment you can make. We're human beings.
This is what I love about the integrity game because
Mhm.
it is if it reminded me of the book that it was really profound for me and I used to give to my clients is The Go Giver,
Uh-huh.
not the go getter,
Yeah.
the go giver. And it's in a parable and it's
Yeah.
so beautifully written. The integrity game is
Thank you.
where it takes you along with these characters and the characters, we're not going to give it all away because they're going to be able to go and get it. But the characters are really based on, I think, your children. And it's so beautiful because you're engaged with it. The way you write it is like you want them to win. You're like, yeah, this is great. And it's all around the baseball theme and everything. So we could go deeper and deeper in that, but I don't want to go there yet. What I do want to know and help our audience know, Jeff, is how do you know when you're in alignment or you're in integrity? What does that feel like in your body, your mind,
Ooh.
and your
Mm.
relationships?
Oh boy. Are you ready? Can I start with a Klubek snack?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, I'm borrowing from the branding, right? No, I do want to popularize my own brand of motivational quotes. We always see
Mhm.
motivational quotes out the internet. Why not mine?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so here's a Klubek snack for you. Some things are as undeniable as they are unexplainable.
Share more.
There's a feeling, I hope you've had it. I'm sure you have. There's a feeling. I said, how do you know when you're in integrity? It's magic. It's like a weightlessness. It's a levitation. It's a beautiful cocktail of positive emotions, right? Right. So when you think about positive emotions, like we got my cup of coffee here. Well, let's say I put a little pride. Let's say I put a little enthusiasm. Let's say I put a little firm, steadfast, and unwavering. Let's say I put a little validated. Let's say I put a little connected. Let's say I put a little significance. Let's say I put a little, are you with me?
Yeah.
Ooh, oh
Mm,
boy.
yeah.
What's beautiful about this cocktail is that there's no stinking thinking in there. There's no victimization. There's no guilt. There's no shame. There's no dread. So we all have experiences in our life. Some people grow up in war-torn situations, and some
Mm,
people just grew up with an abusive parent, or some people grew up in isolation, or some people grew up crowded with no place of their own. We all have experiences of what counts as trauma. We all have experiences of pain, right? We all have experiences of fear, right? So there's 70 emotions that represent fear. Some of them could be victimization or helplessness or worried, obsessive, or a guilt, shame, blame, etc. Right? So to me, how do you know when you're integrity? Well, first of all, if you really knew, you wouldn't be able to describe it because it's as undeniable as it is unexplainable. It's such a special feeling that words will fall short.
the feeling.
It's a feeling. And what's special about this feeling, and this is the closest I think I come to describing it, and the first time I've ever described it this way, you will know, you will be experiencing a moment of integrity when there is zero stinking thinking.
Yeah. And how I describe it too, from my own perspective, I've spent, like I shared with you, I had two different identities and I didn't realize this, but subconsciously I kept like looking over my shoulder going, am I going to be found out? Right. And
Yes.
with integrity, when there is no judgment
You want the whole world to see.
right, what I feel is freedom. And then the confidence that comes with that. It's like this expansiveness. And sometimes, like you said, it is a feeling. It's almost like you ever had one of those days where everything is just in alignment. I mean,
Mhm.
you are on all cylinders. And I felt that so many times. It's like I'm driving on the freeway. I feel like the car's not even on the freeway. You're just floating. It's like this
Yes.
floating,
Yeah.
expansive in the present moment. Because the fact is that you cannot experience shame, blame, negative feelings in the present moment. Those feelings come when you're thinking about the past or
Mm.
concerned about the future.
Yeah.
And in that present moment, when you're being, and this is why this is the work that I think we both do, and this is why we're so in alignment and have such synergies, is that when you can be 100% present with people, there is so much beauty in that. And we're not holding baggage of like, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Oh my gosh, are they going to think this? And that it's like, you can be 100% present. And this is where we start connecting the relationships where we feel so connected with other people from our heart, not our head, not that transactional, but truly feeling humanity. And that, I think we lost a lot of it through COVID. And there is such a hunger for it now. This is why I love your whole point of hugging people accountable, because let's face it, we have had too much isolation, and that physical touch of showing and leading with love makes all the difference in the world.
If I'm doing a networking event or if I'm elevator pitch, right? Jeff, what do you do? Tell me about yourself. Ready? I don't say, well, I'm author and founder of the Integrity Game, and I want to break through people's ego defense to make accountability less. I don't say that. I say I'm a soft skills guy. I believe soft skills make strong leaders. Soft skills make strong teams. So the proliferation of AI, communication skills and soft skills are at a higher premium. What's really going to differentiate us is who can edit the output of AI and make it sound like a real voice. So the ability to look somebody in the eye, the ability to be vulnerable, the ability to be able to describe an emotion that you're feeling, the ability to like let somebody touch you and discard the armor, put down the armor and put up the ideas, right? So I just, my life's been preparing me for the days that we are in right now, right? I'm a master of communication. I've got over 2 decades experience in college level classrooms, and then also teaching public speaking for over 2 decades as I have. I've got experience getting people past the fear. I've got experience getting people engaged, getting people to believe in themselves. And then as my career has progressed, I see myself as a person on this planet that has been tapped or chosen or gifted with an ability to enhance the world's soft skills as we become more isolated. But we've evolved to this point. We got to keep evolving, right? We're not getting off of our phones. So instead of resisting technology, how do we integrate? Instead of resisting AI, how do we integrate? So a lot of times when people talk about integrity, I'll ask, what is integrity? Be your word or do the right thing. And their answer is sitting in judgment of all these other people that have let them down. But when I start my keynote and I say, how many of you believe you have integrity? 100% of the room raises their hand. So here's another Klubek snack, right? We judge ourselves by intent while the rest of the world's judging our actions. But I want to take the judgment out of it. What I want to say is, look, together or not together, integrated or not integrated. Together, like not good or bad, not right or wrong, not a reason to justify my out of integrities. Oh, you're doing this, so I'm going to do this.
He is 100% integrous.
None of us. That's what I wanted to put out. It's a trick question. My point is, it's not binary. It's a trick question. So how many of you believe you have integrity, right? And the way the question comes out, see, I either have it or I don't. Right? Here's the truth. If your audience gets one thing out of this and one thing only, let it be this. We all have some.
Sure.
And we all need more, myself included. And
every day we have an opportunity to restore integrity. And like I said, is that when we do that,
this is a point, right? Restore. I know that you're paraphrasing, etc., right? But let me just tell you how careful I am about this. If I say restore integrity, that communicates that it's missing, absent. Okay. I would say we all have a chance to improve our integrity every day. So now, if I say, do you want to improve your integrity? When I say improve, now I'm communicating there's some, we just want to improve. But if I say restore, now I'm almost subconsciously, it's not my intentional, but they're going to say, they hear that I'm out, I'm lost, I have none, and I got to restore and bring it back. I'd rather improve something that's spinning than get it from a state of inertia into motion. So I'm not trying to offend you, but I'm telling you.
I think what I was really,
I don't think you meant it. We're connected. I know you and I speak the same language, but what I'm trying to tell your audience, this is how careful I am about language. Is I'll say, hey, we have an opportunity to improve integrity. That's why I created the Integrity Game. It's a 10-point model that makes it actionable to increase our integrity to improve. Right. But I would be very careful about words like restore, because I never want to suggest to anybody that they have none, because then now I've got to deal with their defense of that, even if it's vibrationally and subconsciously, rather than just deal with the matter at hand. Here's your word, here's your behavior. Let's just get those together. But as soon as, if I'm careful not to say anything that would recoil them into any more stinking thinking than the amount I need to deal with already.
So that's an umbrella of integrity versus where I was coming from. And again, this is why communication, having conversations is really important. Was if I broke my word to you, Jeff, I would want to restore that integrity. I would want to restore the relationship. I would want to restore integrity of my commitment to you. So that's where I was coming from. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing and clarifying that for the audience, just so they're
Yeah. If it was like reintegrate, check this out, because the analogy of structural integrity, right? If I'm not my word with you, that hasn't ruined my relationship with you. That's just one instance. Maybe it's more of an impact on my relationship with myself than it is with you, right? So I want to restore my word or strengthen my commitment or whatever the case may be. But we want to have faith. We want to have compassion. We don't want to avoid doing the work on ourselves such that we're overreacting when anybody else is a human in our world, right? We want to have grace. We want to lengthen the fuse. We want to have compassion. We don't want to take it personally. If somebody wasn't their word, like, oh, you broke your trust with me, and how could you do that to me? It's not about us at all. It's about them.
yeah.
What's going on in your life that you weren't able to get to this? What is it that you believe about our relationship that you would put so much pressure on yourself? On and on. So I use the word retrofit. Let's retrofit. The screw is still there, but let's tighten it.
Yeah.
There's a roof still there, but let's put a new shingle on.
Yeah.
The irrigation system is there, but let's unclog it, right? So I want to get people away from the binary, have it or don't, good or bad. Like, hey, it's an evolution. They're constantly evolving. Like, we are constantly slipping in and out of various degrees, but we always have some, and we always need more. So for me, it's never a do or don't or have or don't have. For me, it's an improvement. For me, it's a progression. For me, it's a retrofit.
We could talk on, and there's so much depth into this conversation or this topic. But Jeff, what one or two words would describe your rhythm of life right now?
Jovial. I'm addicted to jovial. I'm a walking dad joke. This personal professional growth shit is hard enough, Pam. Let's have
Yeah,
some
you're
fun.
walking dad jokes. Some of them aren't that good. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying yours. I'm just saying.
No, some of mine are not that good. That's why, it's fine. I'll fail 9 times to get laughter on the 10th. That's another thing that's like getting an audience to laugh is addicting. And stand-up comedians and professors with personalities, we're cursed by the need to get audiences to laugh and public speakers and the whole thing. But anyway, so one is jovial. That's one word that would describe my rhythm. Dancing through, joviality, juggling, jovial, laughing and smiling, rolling with the punch. All right. Another word to describe my rhythm is, I want to say it's evolutionary.
Very deep.
Yeah, I feel evolution. I feel like I'm evolving. I see who and how I am now as a product of evolution from my upbringing in my younger years. And I've gotten to where I am today, published 7 books, and I've been in 14 countries, and I built, my coaching practice from nothing as a stay-home dad. And I'm a professor at my alma mater. But what I'm really doing right now is evolving. I'm growing. I'm getting my impact, my ability to make more of a difference is evolving. Like, for example, in your introduction, you talked about like solopreneurs and micro business owners. Well, 2 weeks ago, I spoke to this sales team at Xerox. And then the next day, I spoke to a handful of CEOs inside of Vistage. And then last week, I was in Key West talking to founders that want to learn how to exit their businesses. And 10 years ago, if you would have told me I would have been in front of those audiences, I would have been afraid and thought like, I'm not ready, imposter syndrome and all of that, right? So they're ready for another Klubek snack. And when it comes to imposter syndrome, I don't want to be found out. The only person that's worried if they're good enough for the next level is the one who knows they're going.
Yeah.
If you didn't know you were going, you wouldn't worry at all. Worry is a waste of our imagination. So I think jovial, I think evolutionary is right. But I'm making peace with a lot of things these days. And you talk about Klubek Snacks, the book I wrote with my daughter. If you have any health about you at all as a parent, then you are always worried about whether or not you're a good parent. And I've recently, I'm letting go of those, those old tapes are getting erased. I sit here today in a position of evolution. I know I'm a good dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. For so many years, I wasn't able to say that. I'm so focused on my mistakes and the things that I need to apologize for and be forgiven for and things I would have done differently. And like the things I look back on, they make me cringe. And, I'm coming to peace with those things and my steadfast commitment to being who I want to be for my kids before they go off into this world. So So there's evolution, there's joviality, but also there's a peaceful, some form of the word peace is part of my rhythm right now. And when I think about, my son right now is playing college level baseball in the summer in Ohio, living on a farm. I'm a good dad. My daughter's going to Fordham University, and we know how we're going to pay for it. It's not going to be easy, but we know. And she talks to me about her day, and she asks me about my opinion on things now, and she'll lean in
So
and give
good.
me
Yeah.
hugs. And you talk about those teenage years, like one of the
Yeah.
biggest holes in my heart was my distance from my daughter, and the fact that we're so tight and we're so connected right now. It's just such a fulfilling, peaceful reward. I don't know how to describe that. My balance, my rhythm is balanced. Like I'm a dad,
Yeah.
and I'm traveling, I'm doing all kinds of, so I'm there for my kids, and I'm
Well,
there for my clients.
I think also is when we have this rhythm and when we're open and the growth mindset become, well, we're never going to get there. We're never going to arrive until we're up with our Heavenly Father. More and more of who we were created to be. And that's what this show is all about, is to help people discover more about who you're uniquely created to be. And without a growth mindset, that's not possible.
Correct.
So Jeff, how can our audience learn more about the integrity game, the productivity and accountability frameworks that you have or working with you? Just
Well,
briefly.
it's easy. Google Jeff Klubek, you'll find me. I think LinkedIn is a really good place to
Okay.
to reach out to me. I am evolving, but I still respond to my own direct messaging and so forth. If anybody wants to reach out to you directly, Pam, and say, "Hey, how do I get a hold of that Klubek guy?" Feel free to put them in touch. Tell them Pam,
100%, 100%. Yes.
tell them Pam sent you. But of course, you can
Yeah.
go to Amazon and type in the Integrity Game. You'll find the book. I'm easy
Recommend
to
it.
find.
Yeah, highly I recommend that. So here's a few things that I would like the audience to ponder until our next one is think about where in your life are you out of integrity? Where you can be more integrous. And what is it costing you? It's really pondering. It's not a judgment. And based on what we've talked about, the tools, the little strategies, and how does it feel? Where do you want that feeling? Where are you out of that? And then think about who would you become if integrity was much more intentional and was non-negotiable for you? So ponder that. Think about it, and thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate, and we'll see you next time. Take care.